handling array of items using for each step. So in this particular demo of the Logic app, I'm going to demonstrate how to get multiple items and deal with them. That means we are going to do a small example here where I'm having, let us say, a table called as email alerts. And email alerts table has columns like to address, mail subject, mail body, alert sent. Now whenever I want to send an email, I'm going to insert a record in this table with the appropriate to address, mail subject and body. Now once the email is sent, we would like to change this to true. So by default, of course, alert sent will be false, and once email is sent, it will change to true. So we would like to have now first a table created like this, after which write a logic app which programmatically is going to read in background, logic app which in the process, in the workflow is going to read records from this table and keep sending emails. So I go to now the management studio, create the table first, and also let us insert some dummy data into that table. So I have to address, subject 1, this is message body 1, and alert sent is 0. Execute. Don't select anything, execute. Now subject 2, just for demo purpose, I'm only changing the number. Execute. Subject 3, and that's enough. Just check up, select star from email alerts. So yes, I have 3 records now where alert sent is 0 for all of them. So now my requirement is a new logic app. I'll say alerting logic app in an existing resource group. Now what I'm going to do is, once I get the designer of the logic app, there I'm going to use a trigger by name recurrence. Recurrence trigger is going to execute at a specified frequency. You can specify the frequency in seconds, minutes, hours, or a day. And of course, you can as well mention the interval. So after this much interval, the recurrence trigger is automatically going to get raised. In response to which, we would like to perform an action of getting rows from the SQL Server table, that is email alerts. This is the first step. So now I go back here, refresh, alerting logic app, takes me to the designer, and that is where the first thing I'll do is blank logic app, of course, recurrence. By default it is 3 minutes and I'll leave it as it is. Of course, if you want to change it to seconds, hours or days, it's your choice. Next, I would like to add a new step, which is an action to get the row. So get rows. SQL Server get rows. Now in the example earlier, I have already created a SQL Server connector. By default, it is using that only. But in case you want to change, click on that change connection, and you can click on add connection and create a new connection here, or else simply choose the existing one only. Now you have to choose the table email alerts which we just now created. So from this email alerts, we are going to get one row at a time. Now let us first save this and see how it is working. We'll go step by step. Now in case we want to review first, we can as well look at the code view. We have got connections, definition, action, there is only one, that is get row. Run after, nothing, that means it's the first action to execute. And trigger is a recurrence trigger, so and so frequency. And in action, it is trying to get the row. From the table, email alerts, it is trying to get all the items. So right now, if I go back here and refresh, see, one trigger has already executed. and we will be able to analyze the data. Recurrence trigger, get rows. Important is what is the output of it. We are interested in the output, that to the body. So get rows has a body, and body has, you see, values. Values is an array. The square bracket here basically means an array. First item, second item, third item. Right now we are getting all the items, and we did not even specify any filter, but actually we intend to. We want to get only those items which have got alert sent is equal to false. So first expand this, show advanced options, and here you can specify OData filter. Now my filter is simple, alert sent equal, and I have to give here the false value as false. Save it. Successfully saved. Run the trigger. Just wait for few seconds. Click on it again. After a few seconds, when you click on this, automatically it will appear, and you see now get rows. We have to check again it is getting all the rows or no rows. If the filter is right, we are going to get all the rows. Yeah, right now all the rows are coming because in all cases my alert sent value is false. Just for demo purpose, I'll insert one more. Let us say subject 4, and this I'll give is 1. Now if I run the trigger here, will I get, go to designer, run, wait for few seconds and check, are we getting 4 rows or we are getting only 3 rows. And we have get rows. Now we have to scroll. 1, ID 1, 2, 3, and that's it. Only 3. Fourth one has not come. So this logic is working now. So we are able to get only 3 rows here. Now after we get 3 rows, what's the next action? Go to designer. For each of the row, I should be able to send an email. So click on next. Now you have a choice of choosing here more and for each. Now select what? Get rows value. That is the input now. Now in select and output from previous step, this is supposed to be an array, compulsory that is. After that, within for each, I add an action, which is send email. I have to send an email. SMTP send email. We already have an email connector. By default, already that is chosen here. From address, I would like to send it on behalf of Sandeep Soni at deckensoft.com. To address, we would like to read from to address here, which is the output of the previous step. Get rows to address. Subject, mail subject, body, mail body. And of course, if you want, you have a lot of other properties in case you want to set them. But we don't have those columns, so you can simply skip. And save. Now this is one way of doing it. If I want, I can save it. Mails will be sent. But what I want to do is delete this first. See, this is also one beautiful advantage here. I directly add the action now. Instead of first going to more, choosing for each, I'm directly adding an action. The action is what? I want to send an email. Send email. Specify the address. To. Now the moment I click from here, you see right now for send email there is no container. So array output of this is going as array input to this, but send email cannot work on an array. So when I click on to address, automatically for each container is added. That's the beauty here. Based on the output parameter you selected, we have added a for each container for you. For each enables you to perform actions for individual items in the set of values. That is what is the intention here. So now likewise subject, take it from here, body, take it from here. So now email is going to be framed with all this content and that mail will be sent. Ultimately we have achieved the same thing. You can close this now. There's nothing different we have achieved. Send email. You can rename it. You can rename this also. For each row fetched. Now what is that we want to do for each row fetched? Send email, and after sending email we have to update the row. So add one more action here and call that as update row. SQL update row will come here. SQL server row update. Which table to be updated? Again, the SQL connection is already in place. Email alerts should be updated. Now for update we need the row ID. That is going to be your primary key, which is ID. To address I'll take as it is. Subject I'll take as it is. Body I'll take as it is. But for alert sent, rather than taking data from there, I'll prefer taking data from the value here. Do you want it to be yes or no? I want alert sent to be changed to yes. That is the requirement. Alert sent should be changed to yes. Otherwise, the other columns are just retained as it is. So to update row, update, you can actually rename this and say update alert sent. That's it. So this is my workflow. Recurrence, get all the rows. For each row which is from the values collection, that is array, send an email and update the row. Let us test if all this is working. Save it and we can wait for either 3 seconds for it to execute. You see, in background it was already executing a lot of times because it was in enabled state. So when you do not want your logic app to execute, you can always disable it. So now refresh it, or we can, instead of waiting, just execute recurrence. Successfully started and running. Click on it and we will know the progress here. This is still in action. Close, click. So this has failed. Something went wrong in update row. We'll check that. But get rows output we have already analyzed. Send email. Did that work? Go to the mailbox and we have 3 mails. See, 3 mails have come. But we still have a problem, that is update row did not work. What is the problem? Alert sent. It's not the correct value. So what to do? We have to actually now go and check what is the value of the trigger. So edit value in the code view actually. Alert sent. This send email. Update row. Yeah, you see here by default it's taking base 64. We don't want base 64. We just want the value to be true. That's it. Just leave it as true. Now save this. Again the trigger is going to execute. All the 3 rows will be fetched. I don't want to wait. We'll have few more emails. You see again 1, 2, 3 has come. And did that record change in the database? Let's run. Yes, all have changed. Okay, because of this one more got inserted. That's fine. But otherwise all have changed. So next time, even if the trigger executes, recurrence trigger, we will surely not see any mail sent or row updated because we are filtering when we get the rows. And you can analyze here. Get rows. After get rows, you know this is the array. Array goes as input to for each. For each executes send email. And you can see first, second, third, 3 items. For 3 items, what is the corresponding input output? Same case with update row, input output. This time you see alert sent is true. There is no encrypted or garbage value. That's why it is updating successfully. Now, I would like to have little more enhancement here, just for the practice purpose. Let's disable it for a while. When we don't need, better to disable it. I would like to add now a new step, that is filter. I'll add a filter. Now we can always filter an array, and this I would like to give it here. What to do? First, let us expand this, and here I'll remove this query, delete it. And I would like to take the input from get rows, that is all the rows, and here I would like to filter it, where I'll say alert sent and choose the value. We want the value as false, and this goes as input to for each. So right now for each, you see the color, this is color of get rows. I want for each to take the data from body of the filter. So replace this and instead put a body, and everything else should remain same. Nothing else changes. So yes, in case we want to have a filter added sometimes, we can do that. So now code view, this false becomes a string, that is a concern. So this you'll have to actually change it to boolean type, and ideally put it as boolean 0, cast it to 0, boolean. Like that you have to manually change it. Now save. Yeah, let us try to insert a record in the database now with this value as 0, and I'll call it as subject 6, body 6. And we should know that we can actually do 7 also. So 2 rows, go back here, run the trigger, everything else is same. Run the trigger or wait. And on completion, we have to see what is happening. Everything is successful. Did the mail come? Yes, we got the mail 6 and 7. And did it change in the database? Yes. So result is same. Either we fetch all the rows and then apply the filter. First we get all the rows and then apply the filter, or we filter at the time of getting rows itself. Of course, filtering at the time of getting rows itself will make sense, but maybe in some other case, a special situation, you might want to get all the rows and then filter. So this is how you have to make use of different actions, especially the for each action and the filter action. 2 special actions I have demonstrated. Yeah, something similar you are going to do with do until, nothing different. And what is important is, in my notes at the end, I have this link. Let me open all the three links. Sometimes you may want to actually go to the code view and make the changes. In those kind of cases, this is going to be handy. This is basically the API. What I am showing you is the API of Logic App. Workflow definition language. In case we want to do something in code view, if you want to edit this, before you make any kind of changes to this, I would strongly recommend you to read this workflow definition language. Workflow definition language gives us facility where, see, right now we are using triggers and actions, but in case needed, we can also provide parameters. We can provide outputs. All these are here. Now, how to provide parameter? This is how the parameter has to be provided. Allowed values, default value, type, metadata, declaration, property. The value of the parameter can be read. Triggers and actions. Expression, name colon value. Parameter value can be taken from a variable. Basically JSON format. I would want you to read this. And not only that, as you go further, see, there are facilities where you can write functions, call functions if needed. Likewise, built-in functions are also there. String functions, concat, substring, replace, GUID, upper key, to upper, to lower, lot of string functions, logical functions, equal, less than or equal, greater than, and so on. Conversion functions, string, integer, float, double, boolean, all different conversion functions. I used boolean in one place. Then we have got date functions, mathematical functions, add, subtract, multiply, divide, and then finally date functions are also there. So in case you want to perform additions on addition of date, days, months, all that is possible here. Likewise, there is a documentation available on how do we mention triggers and actions. See, a polling trigger, a push trigger by calling workflow service REST API. This is how the definition of the trigger is supposed to be. Every trigger has type, input, recurrence, frequency, interval, what conditions the trigger should be fired. If in case the output has to be split. And here you see request trigger, recurrence trigger. I demonstrated recurrence and API connection. The Facebook trigger is an API connection trigger. And you can click on this managed APIs and you'll see all the ready-made triggers which are available as a part of Microsoft library. You can simply use them. If you want to post in OneDrive, Pinterest, query, recurrence trigger, we have seen translator, Instagram, and so many options. Facebook will be here. Outlook.com, YouTube, so many built-in connectors. These are all standard connectors which can be used for API connection. API connection is the trigger. Webhook, how to use them? Again, there are enough information and documentation available here. Most of the time, we do not need to really edit in the code view, but in case we want to, there is provision available. That's what I wanted you to explain here. Yeah, it's a pretty vast topic. In case you are digging into it, getting deeper into it, I would strongly recommend you to read this and this. That means complete API reference, and second, the trigger and workflow actions and triggers, and of course the other is workflow definition language. This too is going to become very useful for you to prepare advanced, complicated logic apps. But the two which I demonstrated in the previous and this is good enough for you to understand the very purpose of logic app and a good startup. Thank you.